Today we will talk about a nation pride, a red flower that carry many myths, functions and stories. Most people call it the flor de Nochebuena or Christmas flower. Whether you are familiar with it or not, this flower is one of the symbols of the current Christmas worldview and is synonymous with the Gregorian year end celebration. However, its true origin story lies in our continent and has pre-Hispanic roots. It was not called by its current name or the name it is known by abroad as Poinsettia. One of the most widely spread legends in Mexico is related to the Mexicas attacking the Chontals in a place called Taxco. The Mexicas located here would have traveled to this area in the current state of Guerrero, engaging in battle to subdue the Chontales, who were ultimately defeated and subdued. Of the effects of this war, according to the legend, is that the existing white flowers in this area withered. A year after the battle, these flowers bloomed again. But now they were dyed red. The locals claim that the flowers turned red due to the bloody war. This myth is widely circulated on social media, but it is obviously untrue, as no flower turns red due to a battle. Now, let's explore what is more historically accurate in this fantastic narrative. Firstly, it is true that the Mexicas, having liberated themselves from the oppression of Azcapotzalco, gradually subjugated other villages, reaching parts of the present-day state of Guerrero. This explains certain things, such as one of the two versions that mention the birthplace of Cuauhtémoc. In this version, he would have been born in a extinct existing town called Ixcatiopan, near the current Taxco, which is here. It is true that Cuauhtémoc was born there, although another version claims he was born in Tlatelolco, likely due to Mexica incursions in that area. Now, the next aspect to highlight from the legend is the connection between Taxco and the flor de Nochebuena. In the pre-Hispanic era, Taxco might have been a distorted word by the Spanish, as the current term would be Tlaxco. In Nahuatl, Tlaxco means a ball game, and this was the glyph that gave the town its name. However, it is believed that the present Taxco is not the one subdued by the Mexicas. Evidence beyond the legend suggests that the original Tlaxco was about 10 kilometers south of the current Taxco, known today as Tlaxco Viejo, which was the more significant settlement back then. The present Tlaxco, famous for its silverware, is situated where Tetelcingo was known, meaning small hill, in Nahuatl. Regardless of whether it was Tlaxco Viejo or Tlaxco de Alarcón, this area was indeed attacked by the Mexicas, making it a tributary zone of Tenochtitlan. This is depicted in the Codex Mendoza, where Moctezuma Ilhuicamina is drawn. He is shown with the places he subdued as Tlatoani, and one of them is Tlaxco, located here with its glyph and a broken and flaming teocalli as a symbol of conquest. Therefore, Tlaxco did exist and was subdued, supporting the legend. Another geographical aspect that supports the myth is the plant's location. Recent genetic studies have placed it in the wild, with some of its oldest genetic ancestors in the area nestled on the Sierra Madre del Sur, belonging to the Sierra de Tasco. This area includes the canyons of Memetla and Santo Niño in the community of Tehuelotepec, municipality of Tasco de Alarcón Guerrero. Therefore, the myth of the flower does have historical validation with the Mexica incursions, the Tlaxco population, and the origins of the flower in that area. The pre-Hispanic antecedents do not stop there. All these pieces together, it appears that the Mexicas, as a form of tribute demanded from the groups living in the region, would have taken this flower and brought it to Tenochtitlan to be cultivated. The flower, as a tribute given to the Tenochcas by the inhabitants of Tlaxco, would have been used in many of their ceremonies, especially those related to Huitzilopochtli, the supreme Mexica deity. Throughout the year, which were called veintenas, at that time instead of months, various ceremonies were held, such as Tlaxochimaco and Panquetzalistli. In the Panquetzalistli veintena, which roughly corresponds to December, the birth of Huitzilopochtli was celebrated during the winter solstices. Fray Bernardino de Sahagun, in Historia General de las Cosas de la Nueva España, not only noted that the flower adorned figures of the southern hummingbird, but also mentioned various uses of the flower, including causing a vaginal infection.
There is a flower called Cuetlaxochitl from a tree with very colorful leaves. Also, among women, there is a disease caused in the female genital member, also called Cuetlaxochitl. The superstitious ancients said that this disease occurred in women by having come into contact with this aforementioned flower, or by having smelled it, or by having sat on it. Hence, they advised their daughters to refrain from smelling it, sitting on it, or passing over it.
Beyond these beliefs, colonial sources also indicate that the flower had other uses, including medicinal purposes. For these groups, the flower had both beneficial and negative aspects. Thus, one can imagine Huitzilopochtli surrounded by these flowers rather than the baby Jesus. Paradoxically, this might be an example of how religious conversion unfolded. If it is indeed true that these flowers, among others, were offered to Huitzilopochtli and symbolically born on the winter solstice around December 21 or 22 in the cold season, one can see how the flowers, once given to the southern hummingbird, were later associated with the infant Jesus as a form of evangelization. This tradition persisted to this day. Now, turning to its pre-Hispanic name in Nahuatl, Cuetlaxochitl, there are two possible meanings for this word: flower that withers, or leather flower. There is controversy over which is the correct name. Depending on the region, the flower is known by different names. For instance, in Chiapas, it is called ayoyo in the Zoque language. In Oaxaca, it is known as yuletini in Zapotec. In the Totonaca region of El Tajín, Veracruz, it is called paxtuntli. In Michoacán, it goes by huanipeni. Unfortunately, abroad, it is more commonly known as Poinsettia, a name that can be explained as follows. Hundreds of years after the friars associated the flower with the Catholic celebration of the birth of Jesus, in 1825, the diplomat and naturalist Joel Roberts Poinsett invited fellow naturalists to collect plant and animal specimens. Poinsett in independent Mexico, along with his friends, discovered the flowers of Nochebuena in the canyons of Tlaxco and sent them to the United States. These flowers were then cultivated in his greenhouses. By the late 1820s, a botanical exhibition showcased what is now called the Poinsettia, which was none other than the Cuetlaxochitl, named in honor of the diplomat naturalist. With this, the United States adopted the ceremonial plant, cultivated and adapted it to its festivities, and eventually it spread to the rest of the world. Later legends emerged, this time linking the poinsettia with Jesus instead of with Huitzilopochtli. One such legend suggested that the poinsettia bloomed from the tears of a child who couldn't offer anything to Jesus. However, as seen in the pre-Hispanic past, this flower appeared in battles, Mexica song celebrations, and even had medicinal uses and associations with female infections. Regardless, today, it remains a symbol with a rich history that has traveled between the cultures of ancient Anahuac. So, here's to a joyful birth of Huitzilopochtli with the Cuetlaxochitl.